Shalom Aleichem, everyone. It's Erev Shabbos Parashas Korach, and I wanted to do something I never ever do. I'm going to share with you a Zohar and try and say a pshat in the Zohar. The idea in this short shir is developed from Rav Yitzchak Twersky's Sefer on the Parsha. The Zohar writes as follows: Moshe Rabbeinu was a Gilgul of Hevel, and Korach was a Gilgul of Cain. What in the world does that mean? What exactly is the pshat? So to get a handle on that, we need to get a little bit of a deeper insight into the Korach story, and then hopefully also an insight into the Cain and Hevel story, and then we'll see the interrelationships between, on the one hand, Hevel and Moshe, and on the other, Cain and Korach. So Korach comes along and says to Moshe and Aaron, he has a claim, pasuk, the third pasuk in this week's parsha, Vayikalu al Moshe val Aaron, Vayomer lehem, Rav lachem, you Moshe and Aaron have so much. You've taken the Malchus Yisrael, you've taken Kahuna, and why? Ki kol ha'edo kulam kadoshim, everyone's holy. Uvetochem Hashem, everyone has a kesher to Hashem. Madua titnasu al kahal Hashem. Why are you lording over us? We're all holy. And that's, of course, the metaphor that is cited by Rashi, where Korach attacks Moshe and saying, if you had a room full of Sifrei Torah, does it need a mezuzah? Moshe says, yes. Why? The whole room is full of Sifrei Torah. The whole room is holy. Why do I need that single mezuzah at the Pesach HaBayis? If you have a beggar that's chulot tcheles, why do I need a string of tcheles? It's all tcheles. It's all holy. It's all endowed. Why do we need your leadership? The way Korach couches his argument seems reasonable. If we're all holy, so why is one person above the other? Why do we need you, Moshe, you, Aaron, to be on top? We're all holy. And therefore, we should be treated, should have a society of egalitarianism. And that is essentially, why do we need Kohanim and Leviim? Why do we need differences between this group and that group? We're all the same. It's all egalitarian. So Chazal understood that's all nice, but every rebel, he might couch his argument in one fashion, but there's something else going on. And for example, Rashi cites the Medrash Tanchuma that says that part of Korach's attack was the following, is that Levi had a son, a middle son named Kahat. Kahat had 4 sons. Amram was his oldest, then Yitzhar, Chevron, and then Uziel. So Amram was the Bechor, and his 2 children, his 2 sons, Aaron and Moshe, they got Kahuna, they got Malchus. That's what Amram got. Who was going to be the Nasi of Yisrael? So logically said Korach, that should have gone to my father and in turn to me. It could have gone to the next son, Yitzhar, and then to me, Korach ben Yitzhar. But that's not what happened. It skipped and went to the youngest son, Uziel, and then to Elitzaphan. Why did it skip over me? I should have gotten it. And that bothered Korach tremendously. You see, Korach was not motivated by egalitarianism. He was motivated by kinah. He was jealous. Why not me? I'm also part of Shevet Levi. My grandfather was also Levi. My father was the second son of Kahat. Why not me? Why Elitzaphan? Why you, Moshe and Aaron? Why not me? It was jealousy. It was kinah. And Moshe's response, pasuk Dalet, pasuk He, Vayishma Moshe vayipol panav vayidaber el Korach, and he says to Korach, Boker v'yoda, be aware, it's clear as day. Hashem es asher lo v'es hakadosh v'ikriv elav, v'es asher yivchar bo yakriv elav. Who does Hashem can decide? This is not about me, says Moshe. This is not about me, says Aaron. Whatever Hashem says, I'm a reluctant leader. Moshe did not want the leadership. He did not want this Malchus. He was a reluctant leader. And he says Hashem will decide. It's up to Hashem what he wants over here. Korach is consumed by jealousy of Elitzaphan, of Moshe, of Aaron. He's not satisfied with his station in life. And in fact, Moshe drives this point home a few psukim later. Vayomer Moshe al Korach Shimona b'nei Levi. And he calls him, Shimona, listen, b'nei Levi. He makes the point, Korach, you're b'nei Levi. Hama'at miken? You don't have enough? Kiv dila lokei Yisrael eschem me'adas Yisrael. You also have an elevated position in Adas Yisrael. La'akriv eschem elav. You're close to Hashem. You're a Levi. You're in Beis Hamikdash. You have special tasks. La'avodas Hamishkan, es Mishkan Hashem. V'lamod lifnei ha'eda l'sharsam. You're there to serve the people, to serve Hashem in a unique role. Hashem brought you close and you want even more. And Moshe calls Korach out. He says, you're not driven by egalitarianism. If you were driven by egalitarianism, then you would give up your post also. And I don't hear you giving up your post of Leviah. Rather, ubikashtem gam kuna, you want more and more and more. This is not, you're not motivated by this altruistic motivation. You're not happy because someone else has something that you want. And therefore, again, Moshe responds and says, Lachein ata v'chol adascha hanoadim al Hashem v'aron mahu kisalinu alav. Why are you complaining? You have something very meaningful and very real. And we know how the story ends up, is that there's a test, and Korach and Adaso end up in a very, what I would call a Misa Meshuna, a very, very unusual Misa. Upatasa Hadam es Pia, the ground opens its mouth and swallows, consumes Korach v'Adaso. There's a stunning Psikta Zutrasi. And the Psikta says, Kederek shepatasa b'mei Kain v'Hevel b'dmei achiv Hevel. The very same way that in the Cain and Hevel story, we find that the pasuk tells us, "Kol demei achicha tzoakim alei ma'adama," that the earth cries out. Hashem expresses that the blood of Hevel cries out from the earth in the very same way that the blood of Hevel was swallowed up by the earth. So too, Korach was swallowed up by the earth. So to truly understand Korach, let's take a quick look back at Cain and Hevel. And we are in the beginning of Sefer Bereshis, Perek Gimel, and the Torah tells us that Cain and Hevel are born, and they each bring karbanos. Perek Dalid, and they each bring karbanos. Vahimi Kates Yamim Vayave Kain mi Pri Adama min Chal Hashem veHevel Hevi Gam Hu mi B'choros Sono Michel Vehem Vayisha Hashem El Hevel Ve'el Minchaso. Hashem accepts the carbon of Hevel Ve'el Kain Ve'el Minchaso Lo Sha'ah Vayichar LeKain Me'od Vayiplu Panav. And Cain is angered. He's very, very upset. Vayomer Hashem. Hashem says to Cain, what are you upset about? What's the problem? Lama Charalach. What's bothering you? V'lama naflu panecha. Why are you so downtrodden? Halo im tetiv se'es. If you just did a little better, you'll be fine. Do a little better and you'll be fine. V'im lo tetiv, then la pesach chatas rovetz, etc. So, what's motivating? Why is Cain upset? He brought his carbon, Hevel brought his carbon, and Hevel's carbon is ultimately accepted. Hashem says, why are you upset, Cain? Obviously, what's Cain driven by? Cain is driven by kina. He's jealous. Hevel, his younger son, his kid brother, outdid him, brought a better carbon. And Hashem heeds the carbon of Hevel and does not heed the carbon of Cain. Cain is driven by this passionate jealousy. And what does Hashem say? Hashem responds to him, Cain, halo tetiv se'es, just do a little better and you'll be fine. Don't worry about your brother. Look inside yourself. Be your best. You can do this. You don't have to worry about your brother. But Cain can't escape that reality. He can't escape his consumption. He's consumed with the jealousy. And therefore, Vayakam Cain el Hevel achiv vayahargeu. As long as Hevel is around, Cain is reminded of his lacking, of what he's missing. And he fails. He compares himself to his brother. His value is compared to that which is around him. And he's consumed. He's consumed by that jealousy. And then finally, when Hashem says, where is your brother? Vayomer Hashem el Kain. Hashem says to Cain, Ei hevel achicha, and in an unbelievable irony, Vayomer, Cain says, Lo yadati. I don't know where my brother is. Hashomer achi anochi, and my brother is keeper. Cain, who is so consumed with his brother, so jealous of his brother, consumed by kinah, so now says, what do I have to do with my brother? He has his life, I have mine. But that's the ultimate irony. And then the pasuk goes on to say, Ve'ata arurata min adama asher potzasa es pia lakachas es demei achicha miyadecha. And you are worse than the adama that opened up its mouth. Potzasa es pia lakachas es demei achicha miyadecha. And swallowed your brother's blood. Very, very striking. But that's your connection between Korach on the one hand and Cain on the other. Cain is consumed by jealousy. He doesn't look at himself independently of Hevel. He is consumed by the jealousy that he has of Hevel. And that jealousy brings him to murder. And the blood of his brother, Hevel, gets swallowed up by the earth. And now, many years later in Parshas Korach, we have things coming full circle. And Parshas Korach is the tikkun for the Parsha of Cain veHevel. Because now we have that Zohar that says Korach is a Gilgul of Cain and Moshe is a Gilgul of Hevel. The earth swallowed up the blood of Hevel. And now it comes full circle. The Gilgul of Cain, which is Korach, is now he's going to get swallowed up by the earth. And he's told the same exact message. Korach is consumed by that Cain Dika jealousy. Don't compare yourself to Hevel. Don't compare yourself to Moshe and Aaron. You have independent value and independent worth. Do not judge yourself in comparison to someone else. Judge yourself by who you are and your potential. That was Cain's failure, and that was Korach's failure. And the ultimate demise of Korach, the earth swallowing up Korach, is exactly the tikkun. And that is a unique challenge of jealousy. Jealousy means we're defining our own self-worth, our own value, not vis-a-vis ourselves, but vis-a-vis others, those around us. And when we look at those around us and they seem to be better, they seem to have more, so that internalizes in us, well, I'm a failure, I'm lacking, I am missing something. Why? My value is determined internally by my value, not by what he has, his stature. It's about me. That was Cain's failure, that was Korach's failure. My wife, when my kids come home from school, she's a much better parent than I am. My kids come home from school, they come back with a test. So let's say one of my kids comes back and on the test she gets a 91. So my initial instinctive reaction, which is so terrible, which is why I spend most of my time in yeshiva and I stay away from real parenting. I leave that to the expert, my wife. But they come home with a 91. My instinctive reaction is that a good score or not? Sounds good. But what did the rest of the class get? If the rest of the class got 99s, 91's not so good. If the rest of the class got 82s, then 91 is pretty good. So I am, and that's why I keep my mouth shut, valuing and evaluating the quality of the grade and ultimately the child's effort based on how did everyone else do. That's a toast. It's a tragic mistake. That's the mistake of Cain. That's the mistake of Korach. The proper question, which is my wife's question, is, did you do your best? If you did your best, then a 91 is awesome. And you know what? If you did your best, then a 68 is awesome also. If you didn't do your best, so halo imtativ. If you do more, if you do better, se'es, it'll be good. Cain, you could have brought a better carbon, but you chose not to. You chose to take the easy way out. And then you got very, very upset. But you didn't get upset because of you chose the easy way out. You got upset because Hashem recognized Hevel and not you. That's false. That's sheker. And that is kinah. Hakina v'atayva v'akavod motziim es ha'adam min ha'olam, takes a person out of the world. And that's the message of Parshas Korach. That's the message of what jealousy can do and where it's coming from psychologically. We should all be zoche to understand our unique self-worth, our values determined by ourselves internally. And if we do our best, haloim tetiv, then indeed se'es, it'll be good, it'll be accepted, it'll be proper, and we'll feel very shalom. The second we evaluate ourselves only based on others, by definition, there's always going to be someone who has more, who does more, and then we're consumed by something very foreign, very wicked, very evil, and that is the terrible, terrible midah of kinah.